And I think he asked me last time to mention, and it's been mentioned a few times, that there's material. If you haven't picked anything up, there is some, I guess, still in the foyer back there, and that will be for the first two lessons. So.
Everyone can go ahead and do the first two lessons.
See, he's already putting you to work. All right, but again, this is the last class of this session, and we'd actually covered this right here, and I was just going to briefly just touch on that about the Passover. And it's interesting here that the tabernacle's been set up, the priesthood's been set up, and so there we go. Let me put this over here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, and so they have the first Passover, and the tabernacle was set up on the first day of the first month of the second year. The priests were consecrated during the next 8 days. During those same 8 days, plus 4 more, the princes of Israel came bringing the offerings from the tribes. By then, the first 2 weeks of the first month of the second month were almost over, and God reminded Moses that it was time to keep the Passover. And so I think we've already covered this. I don't think we got into the next ones. I want to just kind of skim through here. This was the first observance of the Passover since the Exodus. Without a positive injunction, the Israelites are under no obligation to keep it till their settlement in the land of Canaan. And in Exodus 12:25, that's what it talks about them, when God brings them into the promised land. And so it does mention that. The anniversary was kept on the exact date of the year on which they 12 months before had departed. This was going to be different from that. They weren't going to be, having to leave as they did. And so it wouldn't be exactly the same, if you will. It is supposed to have been the only observance of the feast during their 40 years wandering. So after this, they're not going to have the Passover. The Jewish writers say that none could eat the Passover except they were circumcised, and circumcision was not practiced in the wilderness. There could be no renewal of this Paschal solemnity. And so the point is that things don't work out so well, as it were. They're going to wander, and so they're not going to keep the Passover, and they're not even going to circumcise as they should. So that's a very unfortunate thing for them. In the same details, the present Passover differed from that kept at Exodus, and again, it kind of mentions how they put the blood on the doorpost and the lintel, and so obviously they're not doing that because it's not the same thing. God gave particular orders for keeping the Passover. And for all that appears after this, they kept no Passover till they came to Canaan. And if you go to Joshua, then I think that's one of the things that they have to take care of. They kept the Passover in the wilderness, where they rested almost a year. But after they removed from thence, they were so unsettled, were in so unsettled a condition that they did not even circumcise their children, who consequently could not eat the Passover. And so that just kind of lets you know how significant this first Passover was. It should have been, something that should have helped them. Like I say, among other things are set up, they're in place, and now we should move forward. And we won't get into that. We pause here, but just looking at this particular Passover. Now, there was a situation, and this is in Numbers 9, and there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man, that they could not keep the Passover on that day. And they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day, and those men said to him, "We are defiled by the dead body of a man. Wherefore are we kept back, that we may not offer an offering to the Lord in his appointed season among the people of Israel?" And Moses said to them, "Stand still, and I will hear what the Lord will command concerning you. Let me ask your opinion on, or your thoughts on this. Do you think that would have been a common thing that they would have run across a dead body? Yeah, I think so. Some possibly 2 million people, and at various stages, like in our society, you got older folks. Some things could happen, various things. So yes, I think that is a very common thing. I think as we think about this, we may not think like that. We may not think, well, because, and hopefully you don't run across dead bodies, as it were. And so, but if you look at their situation, how they were this large group that was in a pretty tight area, if you will, and life continues. And so, yes, there would be dead bodies, and maybe quite a few. Any comment on that before I move on? And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by the reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto the Lord. The 14th day of the second month at even he shall keep it, and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it until morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep it. But the man that is clean and is not on a journey, and forbeareth to keep the Passover, even the same soul shall be cut off from among the people, because he brought not the offering of the Lord in his appointed season, that man shall bear his sin. And if a stranger shall sojourn with you, and will keep the Passover unto the Lord according to the ordinance of the Passover, and according to the manner thereof, so shall he do. You shall have one ordinance, both for the stranger and for him that was born in the land. Okay, so do you think there would be those who would try to get out of it, if you will? Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, I think there would be those that would, hey, I see a loophole here. No, there's no loophole. There's no thing. And hopefully, what kind of attitude should the people have had about the Passover? What was the whole purpose of the Passover? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The angel passed over them the night that they went about killing the firstborn.
When you look back, and this is history they would have known. Yeah, I mean, like you look at us today. Are there any holidays we keep today that they're supposed to be like commemorate certain things? Yeah, holidays. Yeah, but well, I mean secular. Yeah, what's one that comes to mind? It's in July, huh? Yeah, in July. 4th of July. Yeah, and you think back the freedom, and stuff, and whether we connect with that or what, however you feel about that. But you think back and wow, at one time, this country wasn't free, and now it is free. Well, here we have people who would have known the history. I mean, this would have been something that hasn't been passed down per se. I mean, it's like, they would have lived it. And so you would think the Passover should have a great significance to them. Here we were slaves in Egypt. Were they having a great time in Egypt? Just partying and everything was going great, right? No, they were crying out. They were groaning. They were, and God heard them. And so the point of it is, the Passover, you would think would be something that they would gladly want to remember, want to take a part in and go, I remember. And this changed my whole life, changed the whole direction, if you will. Just saying. And let me ask y'all this. If the stranger among you will keep the Passover, what was one of the things the stranger would have to do if he wanted to keep the Passover? He would have to be circumcised. And I think one verse said him and his family or something like that, And so, I would say you would be very committed if you were a stranger and you wanted to keep the Passover. So that's just something. But that was the standard God said, and for both the stranger and for him that was born in the land, and this idea of being cut off, possible meanings, could mean the death penalty. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone who defileth it shall be surely put to death. For whoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. And so, and we'll drop down to the last thing. So he shall surely be put to death. Also, banishment. Those who eat meat from the Lord's fellowship offering while unclean must be excluded from the people. Those who touch anything unclean, human or animal, or any other disgusting uncleanness, shall and still eat the Lord's fellowship shall be excluded from the people. Or it may mean that God will providentially bring premature death. If any one of the house of Israel or of a stranger who sojourn among them eats any blood, I will set my face against that person who eats blood and will cut him off from among the people. So that's a pretty strong thing about being cut off. As to how far that went, and it may have different things, but the point of it is there's nothing good about being cut off. And remember back that expression that he told, like with Aaron, you wash or you do this lest you die. And do we already have a example of that actually happening? Some ones that didn't seem to hear those words. The sons of Aaron, Nadab and Abihu. Yeah. Okay, so we literally finished the thing there. That's actually the last slide for the thing. Now we start the review. Any questions before we start the review? Any comments or anything? Everybody's on board? Okay, cool. All right, so we start, you shall be my people. And we've got the creation. Next is the flood. The scattering of the people, patriarchs, Exodus, wandering in the wilderness, conquest of the land, Judges, united kingdom, divided kingdom, Judah alone, captivity, return from captivity, years of silence, life of Christ, history of the early church, and the very last one, letters to Christians. Yeah. So when you go through here, and I like the way that we're going through this, and let me just ask y'all, how do y'all feel about going through the study the way we do? Is it beneficial? I mean, I personally think so. One of the things, I don't know if y'all talk to other Christians or anybody, about spiritual things. You should, but one of the things that I've noticed, it seems like, not saying people don't have as much knowledge, but I think the way we do it, I think it really helps keep that there's a flow to it. And it's not some disjointed, this part over here and I'll say the world at large, not those who study God's word, Christians. I think to them God's word is a mystery, and they'll pick certain things that we'll look at this like it's been mentioned before, like Revelation. People love to go to Revelation. But to understand it, you really need to have a good foundational thing of the Old Testament, the book of Hebrews. To really understand the book of Hebrews, you really need to have that foundational understanding. So again, I don't want to put you all on the spot, but all in all, everybody seems to kind of be on board. Okay. Good. Okay. All right, so any comments or questions on that? Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll look at the 10 plagues. What was the first? And I won't do my mnemonic for the 10 plagues. I could, but I think some people may have cautioned me. I don't know if I should do that. I like mnemonics because it's easy to remember. It's easier to remember, and I've actually, yeah. I'm getting the don't do that. But I did come up with a cool one. So, all right, the first one, water to blood. We're all on board with that. Okay, and would that have been something that should have gotten Pharaoh's attention? You would think, right? How did the Egyptians, now if all the water's been turned to blood, how did they go about getting water then? I mean, is God trying to kill everybody? What? They had to go labor, dig, had to go dig to find water. Yeah, so it's not that God, like he's trying to kill anybody. He's trying to get their attention. He gives them something that is miraculous, something that doesn't happen. But do his sorcerers, do they seem to be able to handle this as well? They make it appear like they can do it as well. And I'm sure they did it on a very small scale and not a very large scale. All right, what's the next one? The frogs, yes. And so frogs everywhere. I mean, it's like, it's not just a few frogs, after a rainstorm, if you're driving down the road, you can see a frog in the road kind of hopping or, this is frogs everywhere. And it was didn't kill people, but it was a great inconvenience. And it was one of those things that, these frogs have to go. Now, did the sorcerers or their men who could do enchantments, were they able to duplicate that as well? Yep, they seem to be able to draw the frogs as well. What's one thing they couldn't do with the frogs, though? Huh? Get rid of them, exactly. They couldn't get rid of them. But you have all this power. You mean you can duplicate, but no, they couldn't get rid of them. Next is the... Huh? No. Wafro life. I got to stop. It's lice. Yeah, exactly. And were the magicians able to duplicate this one? Huh? Nope. In fact, what did they tell Pharaoh about this? This is the finger of God.
And just so you know, ESV does use gnats, not lice.
I'm sorry, it's lice. So, technically, if you look at various sources, it was some type of biting insect, and I think some say lice, some may say gnats. I guess gnats, they fly around, but I think lice would be more of a nuisance, wouldn't it, I guess? I don't know. I wouldn't want either one of them, so we'll go with that. All right, what is the next one? The flies, yes. And so that would be, something that really would really get to me. Like I've had some situations where I was about to eat something and a fly landed on it. No, flies would be a big deal, and so it should have gotten Pharaoh's attention. What's the next one? Oh, yes, very good. I'm glad you wrote that. That's the only one. That's the first one that only affected the Egyptians and not the Israelites. Would that not have been a wake-up call right there? That the flies only seem to go in one area and they don't go in another? I'm just saying, yeah. So I appreciate you mentioning that. I had some issues with the computer, and so I'm still trying to catch up. What's the next one? Huh? Yeah, or the disease of the murrain, or disease of the cattle, and again did not affect the Israelites, and so yes, that very memorable plague. And the next one, did I put that up already? I guess I did. Okay, boils and what do you think this one would have done, or should have done? And who were the boils on? Like all the Egyptians, and obviously they had to be sore, and could you imagine having, breaking out with boils, and it would be, I would think, very painful, and one of those things that would definitely get your attention. What's the next one? The hail, yes. And so, the hail, and I would think in Egypt that would have been something that would have been very uncommon, is hail and then mingled with fire. And so that's one of the things that, again, and going through these, and I guess I should have gone a little bit deeper, because, specifically as to, because if you remember back, Pharaoh on various ones basically said, okay, I give. It made it appear like he was going to submit, but then what would happen? Yeah, after the trouble's gone, nope, not leaving, nope, not going to happen. And now one of the things that was mentioned to me, and I can't remember, I don't know if it's Chris Bradley or somebody might have mentioned this to me. I didn't think about this while this is going on. Do you think the Israelites are getting some relief with all these things going on to the Egyptians? Yeah, I would think that they were getting some kind of relief, to a certain, because it's not affecting them, and here's those that are pushing them and putting them under hard labor. These things have definitely, I would think, got to be giving them some relief, as it were. All right, what's the next one? The locust, yes, the locust. And so they go through and they pretty much clean out everything, whatever's left, it seems like. And basically, things are getting really bad for Egypt. What's the next one? Darkness, yes. And remember, I think Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron, And again, the darkness, that would be something that, darkness that just lasts. It doesn't go away. Expect the sun to come up. And what's unique about this darkness? You could feel it, but where did it affect? Just the Egyptians, yeah. I find that amazing that it affected just the Egyptians, and you wonder, how could that be? God can do that. So just think about that. That no doubt this is miraculous. And what's the next one? The very last one. Yeah, death of the firstborn. And so, again, going back to the first Passover, they put the blood on there, and I think some of the, instead of getting too much into that, I think there's some things we need to look at. Now we come to the 10 Commandments. What are the 10 Commandments? I tell you what, I'll put them up there. We're all going to read them together. We'll put up the first one. It's not up there yet, is it? Okay. All right. Together. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Number 2. Thou shalt make no graven image. Number 3. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. Number 4, remember the Sabbath day. Number 5, and I'll say this is one, as parents, you should really want your children to honor thy father and mother. Number 6, thou shalt not kill. Number 7, thou shalt not commit adultery. Number 8, thou shalt not steal. Number 9, thou shalt not bear false witness. And the very last one, thou shalt not covet. What does it mean to covet? What does it mean to covet?
To want what someone has to the point that it's sinful.
Yeah. To look and say, I want what you got. And if you're not looking, I'll steal it, I'll take it. You know, that kind of, you know, the things that you see, that certain things that lead to other things, you know. To covet is one of those things that's where it may start out, and it can lead to so much more. And so you see these 10 commandments, and you know they're excuse me, and they're pretty plain, and yet it's one of those things that it should give them a framework to work in, if you will. You know, things that and let me ask y'all this: are these doable things? Yeah, exactly. They are very, very, very doable, and God's not asking them to do things that, you know, we can't. Yeah. Thou shalt not kill. What? Yeah, that's right. Thou shalt not kill, and various other things. And you can see the first ones there. You know how quickly they got off track with that. You know, like verse 2, make no graven image. Remember the golden calf. So. Very strange. And then, let's see. What does the name Moses mean? Yeah, drawn out. And why was he given that name? Drawn out. Why would he? That's an odd name. Isn't that literally what happened to him? He was drawn out of the river. Yeah, exactly. His mother was trying to hide him, and the Egyptian princess found him, and so named him Moses because he was drawn out. Moses came from which tribe of Israel? Levi, exactly. And we know that, and I wrote down some verses to go, like the name Moses. If you want to look at that, that's Exodus 2 and 10. The thing about Levi, you know, obviously Aaron was his brother, and in Exodus 4:14, you know, I think when Moses was making the excuse, you know, I don't speak well, and God said, you know, God's getting angry with him and says, your brother Aaron the Levite does, and so that's, you know, definitely something that we should remember. Which plague did the magicians of Egypt first fail to duplicate? The lice or the gnats. We'll be accommodative. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's the one that they failed to duplicate. About what time of the day did the last plague on Egypt take place? About midnight on which day? It would have to be the 14th. They didn't keep time like we do. Yeah. I think their days are like sundown to sunup or something like that. Yeah. So I was thinking about that, and I thought, you know, we would say about midnight. So now that technically cropped, but that's not how they. I don't think they reckon time that way. I don't believe. So. But I thought I'd throw that in as a little, yeah. This nation fought against Israel at Rephidim. Amalekites, yeah, the Amalekites. Describe the structure of the tabernacle. Put it in your own words. See?
Curtains around the courtyard looked like, and then structure with, I think it was animal skins over, is that right?
Had various animal skins. We had linen, and then there were some animal skins, badger skin, and they believe it some type of aquatic animal.
Keep it waterproof.
Yeah, yeah.
On the outside of that, you had the sacrifice, the altar.
Yeah.
And then on the inside of the tabernacle, they had the table and bread, and then they had the Holy of Holies in the back.
There you go. Yeah, there you. So in your.
Leaving some stuff out.
Well, I think you definitely have it right. I want to say I think it's 45 feet long. So if you were standing right in front of it, and which direction did I would say the tabernacle as well as the main gate, if you will, the entrance to the thing, which direction did it face? East. Yeah, faced east. So if you're standing east and you're looking at it, it goes back 45 feet. It's 15 feet wide, 15 feet high, and you're exactly right. It's divided into two sections. I'm just talking about the literal tabernacle. It does have the courtyard around it, but I think the first section you walk into is the holy place, and it's about 30 feet long, 15 feet wide, 15 feet high. Then you go into you're not supposed to, but the priest could. But it would be basically a cube, if you will, 15 feet, 15 feet, 15 feet. So compared to the other part of it, it was smaller, obviously. And anybody want to add any detail or anything to it? Anything that jumps out at you about the tabernacle? Yes.
This is sort of off the cuff, so forgive if it's not completely formulated, but with the theme of moving east, or things going back to the east, it was all the way back to the garden. That's where the Garden of Eden was. It was in the east. So it's almost, and this is throughout the law of Moses. It's almost as if there's this theme of trying to go back east, moving back eastward. Trying to be back in fellowship with God. So they enter east, but then they move west. So anyway, for what that's worth, that's maybe just something to take note of.
And I always found it interesting. The sun rises in the east as well, so you have this light that's going to be coming from the east. So yeah, so there's probably, if you look at it, there might be layers of why God did what He did. Exactly. There's purpose in what He did and how He set things up. And what's interesting when you're studying something, you go, wow, I didn't. And it may very well be. Just thinking about it. List the furnishings of the tabernacle. Like if you walked into the tabernacle, and I'm not going to ask you which side, you have to be exact on that, but what's something that you probably would have seen if you walked into the holy place? The lampstand. Yeah, some people call it candlestick, but it's more like a true lampstand is what it was, because it had multiple and it held oil. And so I think lampstand is probably the accurate term. And you remember what it was made out of? Pure gold, yes. What's something else that you would have seen in the holy place? Table of showbread, or the table of presence. And one of the things that, it might have been symbolic of Israel's presence before God. This, that again, it has purpose. But table of showbread. Something else that you would have seen in the holy place. The altar of incense, which was directly in front of the veil, and I think the way that it seems to be, it's almost like that. It's kind of connected with the most holy. All right, so you go into the most holy. What's something that you would have seen in there? The Ark of the Covenant, yes. And what's interesting about the Ark of the Covenant? Mm-hmm. And you had what was that thing called on top of it? The mercy seat, yeah. The cherubim, and like you said, God would speak. And what was it made out of? Gold, pure gold. Yeah, only the lampstand and the mercy seat, I think, were made out of pure gold. And so, so you had the lid was called the mercy seat. And it was actually, I wrote down, it was 45 inches by 27 inches, and I think 27 inches high. Again, I don't know if they're totally exact on that or not. Just saying. And so that now outside, and I'll throw this in. What would you, Chris actually mentioned that. I'll call on Chris again. What was that outside? The altar of burnt. Yeah. Offer of burnt offerings, yeah. So you had that, and I didn't write it down, but I think it was like 7.5 feet by 7.5 feet. And I can't remember how, was it like 4 feet, something? I can't remember. But I find it seemed, what I read seemed like it had some kind of grating that I thought the priest could actually stand up on and maybe work in there, but I won't push that. What's something else that you would have found out in the courtyard out there? Yeah, the bronze laver. Yeah, and so that's where. What did they use that for? To wash. Yeah, they had water in it, and that's what they used to wash. And they were definitely supposed to do that. What punishments were given to Israel for the golden calf? I think there's more than one, I guess you could say. I'll throw this out. When Moses got back and saw what was going on, what did he do to that idol? He ground it up and put it in water. Huh? Exactly. Made them drink the water. And I thought, bitter water, that would have been, ooh. Hey, this is your God, or this is your representation of God. Yeah, try this. Yeah, not good. That was one of the things. What did God want to do to the people? Just destroy them, but they didn't. Moses intervened. If you remember, Moses goes back into the camp there and he said, who is on the Lord's side? And who was on the Lord's side? The Levites, yeah. And they go through and they kill about 3,000. And I think those must have been the people who were hard-hearted and, just they weren't feeling what they should have, I guess. A plague is mentioned in Exodus 32, but we don't really read about a plague, and there's some thought about that. In fact, I could mention that real quick. Page 57. No specific description is given of this plague or its results. Some think, therefore, that the reference may be to the 3,000 who were killed by the Levites. Others say that the wording of Exodus 32, 34 through 35 indicates God is saying he will punish them for the sin on this occasion in the day when I punish. In that case, the day of visitation probably refers to the day when God told Israel they would wander in the wilderness until that generation was dead. The wandering in the wilderness was not only because of Israel's lack of faith at Kadesh Barnea, but because they had tempted the Lord these 10 times, and that's in Numbers 14:22, and because of their whoredoms. So, possibilities there. And just saying, and something else. To me, I think of it as a punishment. God had been with them. What did he tell them after they broke the covenant? And Moses intercedes. So God is going to allow Moses, all right, you take them on, you go ahead and you do it. What was something that was lacking? God was not personally going to go with them, which would have deflated the whole thing. That's what made it what it should be, was God being there in his presence. And so again, I guess you can say supplication is made, and pleading with God, and so then God is going to go with them. And I'd like to think that I would be one that say, yes, I want God with me. That pretty much, we'll do one more real quick. Why did Moses veil his face? And this will be the last one. I know it should be V-E-I-L. Take that up with Wes.
So that they couldn't see the glory departing, the shining from his
Right.
face.
When Moses would go and talk with God, one of the things, his face would shine. Now, when it talks about it in Exodus, it said they feared him, and so he would put the veil on. But then the writer in, I think, 2 Corinthians mentions so that they would not see the fading, if you will, and kind of puts it in perspective with the new covenant that that's going to be coming, I guess you could say. Thank y'all so much. I apologize for my gaps in my teaching, but y'all have been great, and I appreciate y'all.